Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we're continuing our study of the Gospel of Mark by finishing up chapter 6. We're going to be reading verses 53 through 56. Just 4 verses. Might have been able to tack those on to yesterday's lesson, but I owe you so much extra time. I thought if this one runs a little short, maybe it will catch me up a little bit. Okay. So Jesus has gotten back into the boat and they've gone on to Capernaum. But then they're going to cross back over the Sea of Galilee. And we get the sense of this in Mark's gospel like no other gospel, that they were crossing the Sea of Galilee a lot. And something else Mark makes clear, Jesus traveled outside of the Jewish areas of Palestine a lot too. Went as far north as Lebanon, and spent a lot of time with the 12 in Gentile areas because his celebrity was evidently not so great there, although he was pretty well known, and he could spend time with them, which he knew was necessary. Something that we mentioned a couple of days ago when they came back from their preaching tour. Let's read verses 53 through 56. And when they had crossed over, they came to the land of Gennesaret and moored to the shore. And when they had come out of the boat, immediately the people recognized him and ran about the whole country and began to carry about on their pallets those who were sick to the place they heard he was. And whenever he entered villages or cities or countryside, they were laying the sick in the marketplaces and entreating him that he might touch the fringe of his cloak. And as many touched it were being cured. Another one of these, short glimpses. They're almost like establishing shots in a movie. Where you get, the wide angle just to set up the scene so you know where you are. And this is a very cinematic gospel. It's a storyteller's gospel. It's not the researched biography that Luke is, or the theological exploration that John is, or the proof through the Old Testament and the prophets that Jesus is the Messiah that Matthew is. This is pure storytelling. And we have several of those, and just go back and look at some of our old classes. Every 2 or 3 days, I say, well, now we have a nice vignette that tells us what it was like day by day to be with Jesus on the road. And that's one of the great gifts Mark gives us, and he gives us one of those establishing shots here, one of those short scenes in which nothing really happens, but we're told what life was like. And what life was like was hectic. It was just hectic. When Jairus has this saying about being on a mission trip in India, and he says, when you're in India, if you're standing still, you're a mob. And if you're walking, you're in a parade because you're never alone. And there's always going to be a crush of people crushing you. And I spent a little more than 2 short weeks with him over there one time. That was certainly the experience that I had. And that's what it was like every day for the better part of 3 years for Jesus and his apostles. And we get that sense again. People are running around the whole countryside letting folks know who Jesus is. Jesus' celebrity is enormous, and particularly in Galilee. It's not clear how well known yet he is, although he's clearly known in Judea. But in the little villages of Galilee, everyone knows him, and he can't go anywhere that people are not hauling their loved ones to be healed. And then we get this, when he entered villages or cities or the countryside, wherever, big towns, little towns, or no towns, people were laying the sick, any place where people gathered, and were begging that they might just touch the fringe of his cloak, touch the tassel of his prayer shawl. And when they did, they were cured. And of course, we've already seen this happen. We saw it happen with the woman with the perpetual hemorrhage. Well, that's what it was like on the road with Jesus, day by day, during his public ministry, in case we wondered. He really was a traveling event. It was wherever he was, it was an event, and no wonder that we get the detail that we get from Luke's Gospel, chapter 5, verse 16, that Jesus would frequently withdraw to a quiet place where he could pray. He needed to get through the next day. We're going to start with chapter 7 next time. Thank you for joining me for what is just a little more than 5 good minutes. See you next time.